Florida, the nation's gizzard. It's the magnificent Lassiter Show, starring the magnificent Lassiter. Featuring the nimble fingers of Michael Serio at the control board, the second most respected newsman, John Richards, and the world's most dangerous traffic reporter, Gary McHenry. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lassiter.
8.5 minutes after the hour of 3 o'clock, a Tuesday, May the 30th, 1989. Very good Tuesday to you. A very good start of the week for most of us. Nothing like a 3-day weekend to make you just really not want to ever go back to work again. A good holiday weekend it was for me. Michael, I trust it was for you. Okay, it was. Michael gives me the thumbs up. That is your thumb, right? Okay. Well, they're both very stubby. Stubby. It's hard to tell. My holiday weekend started off in the most traditional, I guess, most American kind of way that you could possibly look for. I started out at the ballpark Friday night, cramming hot dogs into my face, watching the Clearwater Phillies win, sitting there catching a nice gentle breeze, a perfect way to start the summer holiday weekend season off. Couldn't have been better. Then I spent the rest of the weekend doing other traditional type things, cooking out. Yes, we actually had a cookout. Didn't have anybody over for the cookout. Matter of fact, we're never going to have people over to the house again for a cookout. Nothing personal, Michael. Michael was there the last time with his family. But about half of the people that we invited never bothered to show up. Nor even bothered to say, hey, we missed it yesterday. Sorry about that. So we have decided that even though half of our friends are good, decent people, we can't tell for sure which half. So we're just going to basically, just cook out by ourselves. And then, we don't have to worry about getting all the hamburgers just the right way or, having too many hot dogs and not quite enough, whatever else it might be. They're the kinds of things that will be going on. I got some more toys for the computer. You see, actually what I did is I spent most of the weekend at the computer. I bought 2 new programs, both of them utterly, hopelessly, without rhyme, reason, or cause, that will not do anything to improve my life whatsoever, except cost a lot of money and took hour upon hour upon hour of my time to try to figure out. I bought one of those. I know that 2/3 of you, 3/3 of you, who knows, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I bought one of those delightful paint programs where you actually sit there and can paint on your computer screen, just beyond belief. Made all kinds of titles for the VCR, had a lot of fun with that over the weekend, and also bought one of these desktop publishing programs so that I can write clever little newsletters to send to the folks back in Iowa. Well, what else are you going to do with this kind of stuff? But nonetheless, it kept me from thinking about the business. It kept me from thinking about here. Not once did I think about this place over the weekend, which is great because it sends me back, rejuvenated, recharged, and it takes, probably 15, 20 minutes to get back into the condition that we were in before we left here. Slurpees. That's what I came here basically to talk to you about today, are Slurpees. I have completely given into Slurpees. I go now, I find myself wandering from store to store to store looking for special flavors. And I do have a complaint. I know, we got lots of legal problems around here, but the 7-Eleven at McDill and Gandy have pulled a fast one on me. They have one of these Slurpee machines that only puts out 2 flavors, and on one side they have banana. Yeah, God, banana, yeah. And on the other side, they have this stuff that's red. Okay? Most of the other Slurpee stores in my neighborhood also have stuff that's red, and it's wild cherry, and it is delicious. It is by far and away my favorite. It's why I have found myself roaming from store to store to store, only to find out that most of the stores are out of it by the time I get there. But the 7-Eleven at McDill and Gandy, with a 2-station Slurpee machine, had an absolutely full machine of red stuff. I did something really bad. I bought 2 of them. 2 of them at one time. And I ran out to the car and stuck my little Slurpee straw in one, pretending as I'll have 2 of these, one for myself and one for my friend. There wasn't a friend. I buckled it into the seatbelt on the seat home so it wouldn't fall over. And I drove home. And I put the little straw inside and I went... just as you would with a Slurpee, only to find out it was not wild cherry, it was fruit punch. No wonder they've got this stuff coming out the wazoo over there. And they didn't even have the decency to put the little card in the thing that said fruit punch, because they knew if they did, people would have bought the banana. Anything to get away from the fruit punch. But that's not really why I came here to talk to you today. I came here to talk to you about Saturday night's main event. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, whoever draws up the scenarios for the WWF must be on vacation, is the only possible explanation I have, because I mean, this Macho Man, Sensational Susie or Shirley or whatever the hell her name is really, I mean, it's about as exciting as a banana Slurpee, you know what I mean? And about as tasteful as the fruit punch Slurpee, you know what I mean? I mean, come on, you guys over there at the WWF. Can't you do better than that? I mean, the AWA is almost as exciting sometimes. My cherry tomato plant is dying. That's what I really came here to talk to you about this afternoon. I didn't bother to tell you guys, but a couple of weeks ago, several weeks ago now, my lovely wife saw an ad in the paper one Sunday afternoon for geraniums. You know, it was like $5 for $1 or something like that, a ridiculous price, at Frank's Nursery. And so she said, you know, can we go over there and check out? And I said, of course, my love. Of course you can go over there and buy $1 worth of geraniums. I came home with she came home with $1 worth of geraniums. I came home with $70 worth of pots and dirt, flowering plants and herbs. And I started on my back deck my own little garden. Most of my flowers died almost immediately. But my little herb garden, where I also planted a couple of tomatoes, one large tomato plant, one cherry tomato plant. I was out there watering one day about 2.5, 3 weeks ago, and I hadn't even realized, because the little cherry tomato plant is lost in this jungle in this pot. And there was a little baby cherry tomato laying right there on the ground, well, in a pot. And I picked it up and I watered it off, and it looked like it was just the right consistency, and I popped the tomato. You know, like you used to pop pills, bam, pops it from me. I do not like cherry tomatoes. I have never in my life had such a grand, glorious piece of vegetable. I've never grown anything before. This was the first food I had ever grown with my own hands. I'm usually too busy eating to be farming. And since then, I have harvested another 4 tomatoes off of this plant, and now it's dying. It's given me all it's going to give me, I guess, for the season. That's what I really came here to talk to you about. Now what I really came here to talk to you about is Sophie, my dog. I haven't talked to you about Sophie for a long time. Do you know why? Because she ran away? No. Because the gypsies came and stole her? No. I haven't talked to you about Sophie for so long because she's not worth talking about anymore. The damn dog is so good, she just is not worth talking about any longer. It's not really what I came here to talk to you about today. What I really came here to talk to you about is a guy who is 4 years younger than me is retiring from baseball because he's too old to play the game. I don't need that. I don't need that at all. Of course, I talk about Mikey. Mike Schmidt, to those of you who aren't really into baseball. Sitting there complaining that his knees are gone, that his elbow hurts from too much gardening, and he's just too damned old to play baseball anymore. It's not really what I came here to talk to you about. I came here to talk to you about that live oak tree out in front of my house that's dead. Died almost overnight. We're talking about a 40-foot live oak tree in my front yard. Bam. So it was termites and boars. I thought that the boars were only a problem here in the station, but they also did my tree in as well. But what I really came here to talk to you about this afternoon is the fact that I have remastered the fine art of cooking scrapple. So I have tried and tried and tried for quite a number of weeks, and I usually end up eating mush. Well, scrapple's all mixed together, you know, in kind of mush. It still tastes the same, but this morning, I left the butter out of the pan, and the damn scrapple just cooks perfectly. For all of you who are having trouble with your scrapple, leave the butter out of the pan. Palm Harbor High, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
How you doing, Bob?
Oh, great, Palm. How are you?
Fine. Did you watch the Saturday Night Main Event?
Yep.
That was an awesome piece of entertainment, wasn't it?
Yes, it was an awful piece of entertainment.
I said awesome.
Awesome? Are you serious?
Yeah, Hulk Hogan doing that suplex on top of the steel cage. That was beautiful, Bob.
I'm telling you, the guys that are in charge, or the gals, the case may be, who's in charge of the scenarios for the WWF is either on vacation or has quit.
But
I mean, if the kind of nonsense that went on there entertains you, I mean, how many times is Hulk Hogan going to outsmart the big boss man in a steel cage?
But that's what makes it so entertaining, though, because he always defeats the big boss man. Good always triumphs over evil.
Well, Hulk Hogan is not good.
He's not?
No.
How do you see that?
Well, I guess my glasses aren't smeared with chicken fat like apparently yours must be.
Well, the fans love him. They're always cheering for him.
Yeah, right. This new movie that's coming out where Hulk beats up on some poor little skinny guy with a motorcycle. No, not the little skinny guy with a motorcycle. Hulk has the motorcycle.
Oh, but that's a movie. That's fake.
Oh, you're right. Is this, this is a ratings period. Do you have anything else? I mean, can you pick it up a little bit, or should I go on to somebody else?
Well, I do feel bad about your oak tree dying real quick. That was a pretty sad story.
Well, it was. It died in less than a week. You have never seen anything quite like it in your life. A mammoth tree. Just, bam, dying like it was a little flower out in the backyard.
Okay. Well, that's about all I have to say, Bob.
Okay. Amazing. A man that has compassion and feeling for trees also is into professional wrestling on Saturday nights. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas.
You could win.
You talk about one of my favorite players, because I used to live in Jersey, Mike Smith. He got class. He had class when he first come up. He's the best third baseman around besides George Kell. And the Yankees had Boyer and all that stuff like that. But for the man hit power year after year, that's one of the best mans ever had it. He had an average almost like Babe Ruth had if you stick around a little longer, you know what I mean? For home runs and stuff like that, you know what I mean?
Well, I don't think his average was quite
he
like
played for Luther for many years. Him and the Bull carried the team for many years and had Bull as shortstop and all that stuff. You know, you live in Jersey. If you follow the Phillies, you know what the story is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you, that's one of the greatest players in the world. And he went out like class. He knew it was his time. If they don't put him in the Hall of Fame, they better forget that thing and just tear the town up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Largo. Hi, Larg. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Yeah, you like those wild cherry Slurpees too, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen,
definitely where it's at.
Listen, I'm like you. I ride around. I'm trying to find that stuff too. But you know what I found out? You know why they don't have that so often?
No.
Because big fat pig like you rides around and eats it all up all the time. That's why there's none left. If big fat pigs like you would quit eating it, there'd be more for other people.
Oh. Okay. Sir, I never go to Largo for my Slurpees. As a matter of fact, I don't go to Largo for anything because it's been brought to my attention that there are an awful lot of very weird people that live in Largo. Pinellas Park. Hi, Pinellas. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hey, Bob.
Oh, yeah.
This is the kid, Gibbs kid. They called you a couple weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
I was just talking, I heard you on the radio talking to that guy about the WWF wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most fake stuff I've ever seen in my life.
Well, haven't you ever seen some of the stuff that, Gordon Solie used to put on?
Yep. My parents like watching it all the time, and it absolutely bores me to tears. But if you watch on one of the WrestleManias, when Hogan wrestled Bundy,
mm-hmm.
Bundy had a razor blade in his hand and slit his forehead open.
No.
Yes, I have it on tape.
Are you serious?
Uh-huh.
Shenanigans like that?
I wouldn't be stupid enough to cut my forehead. They couldn't pay me.
Well, I mean, $200.
Ain't worth it.
$500.
No.
$10,000 just as, a couple of scratches.
Yeah, that would be worth a couple of scratches.
So you do have a price. I see. What makes you any better than Bundy?
I'm skinnier.
That makes you better?
Yeah, because I'm not stupid enough to go in the ring and get tossed around like a yo-yo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
For $10,000?
No, because in the job that I'll be working at, I'll make more.
More than $10,000 a night?
Not a night. They make that in a year, maybe 6 months.
You think guys like King Kong Bundy make $10,000 in 6 months?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Be a professional football player and retire when you're about 40.
When you're about 40, I see. You do realize the average NFL career is 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, that's not exactly 40, is it?
No, but it depends on how well you are and how long you care to play for.
So you're going to be a professional football player?
Most likely.
Most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think you're going to play for?
If I don't play for Florida, I'll probably end up playing for Pittsburgh.
If you don't play for Florida, I didn't know that there was a professional.
Tampa Bay.
Oh, Tampa Bay. Have you put your application in yet?
No, I still got 1 more year of high school left.
1 more year of high school left. Okay.
I already have college scholarship offers all over the United States. I have one from Penn State. I have them from USF, FSU, and I have it from Rice College and Indiana State.
Rice College. Is that anywhere near Rice University?
I don't know about that. I just know about the college.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Okay.
See you.
Call us when you're a big football star. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. None of this stuff is what I came here to talk to you about this afternoon. Not any of it. Came here to talk to you about things like, how much is it worth? How much is it worth to be a teacher? I mean, could you possibly give me a dollar value on what it's worth to pay teachers? How much is it worth? How much is a cop worth? Could you set a dollar price on that? Can you force a person to take a ride on a roller coaster? I mean, can you take somebody and say, you're going to ride on that roller coaster come hell or high water? Of course, what an utterly ridiculous question, right? And the person could say, hey, I don't want to ride on the roller coaster because I'll get sick. Or I don't want to ride on the roller coaster because I'm afraid of falling out. Or I don't want to ride on the roller coaster just because I don't want to. And the thought of being able to force someone to ride on a roller coaster against his or her own will is obviously a crazy, crazy thought. I mean, you can't force somebody to do that. You can't force somebody to do something against their will. You can't force somebody. Do you realize that it's more dangerous to have a baby than it is to ride on a roller coaster? Do you realize the chances are greater that you'll die having a baby than you will taking a ride on a roller coaster? Yet we think nothing of telling a girl to have a baby. At least a lot of us do. A lot of people having babies these days are leaving them on top of dumpsters and in boxes and back alleys and in toilets. And another horrible, horrible story again this morning about a baby abandoned. They think it's about 3 years old, weighs something in the neighborhood of 12 pounds. A lot of talk about it today. A lot of people have a lot of ideas about what to do to women who abandon their babies, what to do to women who just leave them in boxes or in toilets or whatever. Plenty of folks who know precisely just what they want to do to women who do those kinds of things. Doesn't take them 30 seconds, doesn't take them 3 seconds to come up with the precise prescription for punishment to women who abandon their children. But nobody seems to know what to do with a society that allows human beings to get into such a predicament, a society that allows human beings to fall so far behind, to fall so deep between the cracks that they deny that they're pregnant or that they deny that they have babies, they deny the babies the proper care. I mean, are we not a people in this country that absolutely begrudge a mother sufficient means, i.e. money, to provide a decent environment for herself and for her children? Are we not the people that sit around and bitch and moan about welfare mothers and bitch and moan about, nigger girls having babies and bitch and moan about white trash having babies and bitch and moan about all of the things that go along with it? Aren't we the society, the nation that does that all the time? Is that why we sometimes have young women living in seedy motels and small, filthy hotels and crammed into small rooms? Sometimes go crazy and do things like abandon their children or starve them to death or abuse them or set them on fire or burn them with cigarettes or hit them with sticks. Are we not the people who have made it a literal disgrace to be poor? Aren't we the people that have done that? Are we not the people who have made it a disgrace to be unprepared to handle the financial burden of raising a family sometimes? Aren't we the people who recoil in horror when a child who has been denied proper nutritional care is found in a motel room? But what about all the children who were raised up in squalor provided by a society too cheap to provide for a kid? We don't seem to recoil in horror when a child's mind has been left to rot, or when a child's will has been left to rot, only when the child itself, the physical child. I mean, we've got millions and millions of women in this country caring for tens of millions of children on what literally amount to pennies a day. Tens of millions of kids growing up on substandard diets with substandard educations in substandard homes, but we never seem to care about that. It never seems to dawn on us that a woman who abandons her baby or who abuses her toddlers is almost exclusively on the bottom of the economic ladder. Is that just a coincidence? I don't think it is. I don't think the kid that was abandoned in the motel in Tampa today, who weighed 12 pounds, I don't believe that kid was the kid of a very wealthy woman or even a middle-class woman. It was the child of a woman on the lower rung of the old economic ladder. It seems that it's usually women who are either on welfare or women who are earning unbelievably low wages and jobs without security and jobs without any place to go seem to be the ones who end up doing that kind of stuff. Usually they're women who are condemned to living in neighborhoods and they're overrun with drug dealers or violent criminals. But again, nobody seems to do very much to prevent the conditions that can drive a woman to kill her or abandon her own baby. Nobody's interested before the fact. People are only interested after the fact. Somewhere during the last 3 years, somebody saw that kid. Somebody saw the 12-pound kid during the last 3 years. Somebody saw the kid being taken into and out of a sleazy motel room. Somebody saw that kid. But that was okay because the kid hadn't been abandoned yet. I wonder what would have happened if that woman had come up with that kid in her arms and knocked on your front door. You'd have called the cops in all probability. But you know what the hell to do to punish her? Oh, boy. I mean, some of you are out there, come on, let's punish the bitch. I don't have the answers. Don't worry about it. And I'm appalled just like you are when I hear these stories, and I, too, want to punish and to strike back and then look for revenge. Just that every now and then I try to put myself in somebody else's shoes. Doesn't always succeed very well. I just don't know that cases like this belong in a criminal court, and I don't know that cases like this belong left up to you. Or at least some of you. And then what is really sad, what is really tragic, is that a lot of people that I've heard talking about such tragedies seem to ignore the reality of it all and somehow turn it into their own little personal vendettas for anti-abortion or pro-adoption and harangues or whatever it might be. But somebody saw that kid during the last 3 years. And to take a story like this and try to turn it into she could have put the kid up for adoption if she didn't want it. Where the hell were you 3 years ago? Or to turn a story like this into, that's all fine and well, but every day in this country, X number of people have abortions. I don't know what it all means. I have no idea what any of it means, but years ago, a fair number of years ago now, there was a motion picture called Network. And during the course of that motion picture, there was this little scenario about how the big-time network anchor got all the people in America whipped up to the point where they opened their windows and shouted, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." People laughed. They thought that was a comedy scene. Never dawned on anybody that might work. What would you pay to live in an idealized America? What would you pay to live in a land of gingerbread houses and white picket fences and green lawns and lawns that never need any weeding or any cutting and perfect flower beds and apple pies left on the windowsill to cool? What would you pay to live in an America where kids went to neighborhood schools and moms stayed home and took care of the house, maybe even wore high-heel shoes and pearls? What would you pay to live in a perfect America, an America that had a big park in the center of town and a gazebo and a band that played there on Sunday afternoons, and a town where kids, about the worst trouble they got into is where they stayed for an extra inning or two of baseball instead of coming home for supper. A town where there weren't any drug dealers. A town where you could leave your doors open at night, huh? A town where you could sit on the front porch and you knew almost everybody's name. What would you give to live in a town like that, in a country like that? One where everything was just like it was in the good old-fashioned days, the good old days. How much of a reduction in your current standard of living? What percentage would you give? Would you part with hard-earned money to have a nation that worked for just about everybody in it? How much would it be worth to you to drastically reduce crime, to eliminate poverty, to have the world's very best schools and hospitals and research centers, and have full employment at good wages and safe streets and good neighborhoods and affordable housing and mothers who stayed home with their children? How much would you pay in taxes or in increased living costs for such a mecca? 5% more? 10%? 15, 20, 30, 35? How much would you pay to have a milkman who knew your name and who looked out for your property when you were away on vacation? How much would you pay to know the mailman's name? How much would you pay for them to know yours? How much would you pay to have the people across the street bring over chicken soup when you weren't feeling well? How much would you pay? Is it possible? Is there some way that we can buy our way back to the good old days, buy our way back to the neighborhoods and the local schools? And how much would you part for it? That's really what I came here to talk to you about today. Came here to talk to you about the way it used to be, the way we'd all like it to be. Let me give you the telephone numbers. Really don't. But I think it's a reasonable one. And I'm a reasonable man. Ruskin, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
Hi, Bob. This is Lee.
Hi, Lee.
Hi. It sure is hot out, isn't it? Hello?
I don't know. I'm inside where it's air conditioned.
Oh, I know. Okay. I'm in the air conditioning myself.
Great.
All right. I just want to talk about, number one, the good old days, and as far as the fort and everything. I raised 3 sons, and I had to leave the man after 7 years of physical abuse. And he told me, the judge told me I'd get $62.50 twice a month to care of 3 sons after I was physically abused. So that's the good old days. All right, so what is the other thing you were talking about?
Tampa, you're on there at 970 WFLA.
Good afternoon, Bob.
Good afternoon.
I think I'd gladly pay $3,000, $4,000, maybe $5,000 a year to go back to that time. I figure I'd spend at least...
Well, before you go into those kinds of numbers, I'd really like a percentage.
A percentage of my income?
Yeah.
Well, that's
because, $3,000 would be an incredible amount of money to somebody who earned 10.
Well, that's
$3,000 to somebody that earns a million is a drop in the bucket.
That's true. I was just considering
You take a 25% cut in your standard of living to bring everything back to the good old Walt Disney movie kind of days.
Sure. I gladly would. If it meant that I didn't have to worry walking from my house to the convenience store, which happens to be just a couple hundred yards, if I didn't have to worry about my child walking to school in a neighborhood school, which is only a half a mile away. You know, when I went to kindergarten, I was only 5 years old, and I walked to and from school, and it was 3/4 of a mile. Couldn't do that these days.
Why not? How come?
Well, there is a little bit of...
What's different between now and the days when you grew up?
It seems that...
This is a tough one for you guys, apparently. Just thought it might be, kind of curious to see what you'd pay for the good old days. Pick any strawberries over the weekend, Mike? I have no intention of begging. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello,
Hi.
Lassiter. First-time caller to your program.
Great.
I don't feel that we can ever go back to the way it was. Society must continue to move forward. Perhaps it can be a cyclical effect. And
Once to ourselves. Unbelievable. It's fantastic. Michael, just pick any tomatoes or anything over the weekend? You and the wife have a nice... You went to Honeymoon Island, right? Back to hell with them. Yeah, just let the phones ring. I couldn't care less. You went to Honeymoon Island this weekend?
Yeah, took the little ones out to honeymoon. It was worth $1.50, and just go out and play on the beach for a couple hours.
$1.50 to go to Honeymoon Island?
Mm-hmm. It's a state park.
State park. Okay. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello, Bob.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Oh, great. Great yourself.
Pretty good. It's going to be tough to go back, but there's a lot of people that wouldn't want to go back. I don't think my mother would. She got tired of making all those pies and slaving over the hot stove. She's remarked that several times.
Any doubt in your mind there would be a better world if more mothers stayed home making pies?
It would be better, I think.
What would you be willing to pay for more moms to be able to stay home?
Well, I really don't know. Maybe another 15% max.
15% max.
Mm-hmm.
And, increased taxes and decreased cost of, or decreased living standards.
Well, whatever. I don't know how to accomplish going back to the good old days. I enjoyed it then, but there were a lot of things that weren't good about it. What's going to be ironic is the fact that in 15, 20 years we'll look back on today and say these here are the good old days. So the fellow that was talking about the not knowing the neighbors, I think it comes from fear of rejection, and I think that's a problem that's all over the United States. It's a fear of walking up to somebody and saying, "Hey, hello, here I am. I'm going to bear my life to you," and it's just probably a fear of rejection, the same kind of thing that salesmen go through, call reluctance or whatever it is.
Thank you, my friend.
All right.
Be good.
Sure, bye.
Don Richards standing by at the WFLA News Desk. Donald?
Bob, we could face stricter water use restrictions.
What's that mean?
You're just about as exciting.
I'm just about as exciting.
Is this a question and answer show?
Yeah, that's right, sir. It's a question and answer show. What would you like it to be?
Running that low, huh?
What would you like it to be,
Can't think of anything to talk about, huh?
What would you like it to be, sir?
I'd like to see the old Bob Lassiter, but I guess that's impossible.
Well, what's that mean, the old Bob Lassiter? You mean somebody that would have said, well, you moron, you jerk, for calling up here and talking like that and adding absolutely nothing to the show? You're an asshole and an idiot? Well, sir, you're an asshole and an idiot. St. Petersburg, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello?
Yeah.
All right, Bob. Say, I'll try to give you something a little more contributive than that last fellow. If you give me about 50 seconds to make a few statements concerning your question, okay?
Sure, go for it.
What you've proposed sounds like a sensible question to the average person. That is, that if we want a more peaceful, kinder, and loving world, what would we be willing to pay for it? In short, tranquility for money. But, Bob, that's kind of a non sequitur, because you can't buy what this world needs. And that's moral principles. You teach them to people at home and in schools, and you start with them when they're small kids. But our culture is based on hedonism. And in order to teach moral principles, you've got to have something to base them on. And since psychology and psychiatry are nothing but man-made foolishness invented by self-acclaimed men like Freud and Jung and Rogers, you have to rely on something else. And perhaps the principles of living just might be, Bob, right in front of our face in the Bible.
Oh. Do you have anything else beyond that? Oh, I see. Okay. Principles for living are to be found in the Bible. The things that will make our lives better are to be found in the Bible. It's a tragedy he didn't stick around to tell us what those things were. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. I'm sorry if you're bored by it. Hey, it's the best I can do. It's I thought it was, reasonable. You people, apparently don't, at least, not in the, now it's the dreaded 5 o'clock hour. The 4 o'clock hour wasn't all that bad. Apparently the time zones have changed on us. I thought it was a reasonable question. As a matter of fact, I still do, and I think it's damned reasonable. But I'm not going to sit here and pull teeth. I'm not going to sit here and try to fill. I'll just wait. Before we go to Gary McHenry, one of those things that used to make the nighttime show seem like maybe it was a little bit different was, you people used to think a little bit more. You people would be challenged with, how much more would it cost to live in a decent world, and how much would you be willing to pay? It's no wonder that we live in a world that's, like the one that we live in, where people throw away their babies and where people sell each other poison. It's just no wonder at all, is it? Gary McHenry coming up next. Well, our very own bronze flyboy. I understand all of Pasco County is on fire, and that bolts of lightning are to be seen all over.
And tornadoes are coming down, picking up the fire, swirling it around, and throwing it all over Hillsborough County.
I love that kind of something. Good for the ratings. Go with it, Gary. Go.
Well, we got a couple of earlier accidents which occurred because of the weather. You can bet Dale Mabry in Oklahoma, motorcycle.
Oh, they chickened out. See, they thought they were on hold, and they were telling each other about how they were going to scream, you're going to, and that would have been very, very clever and amusing. They would have been the very first people ever to think of a stunt like that. Okay, for the other 2 or 3 of you on hold, to hell with you for a second here. Let me talk to you, because now I'm angry, and I'm not supposed to get angry at you, and I'm not supposed to take the show home with me, and I'm not going to. I'm going to do my damnedest today, but I'm going to lecture you nonetheless, because you see, what I tried to do this afternoon was, after listening to all of the people this morning who have all of the solutions, I cut her breasts off and I take out all her female parts and boil them in a cauldron of oil. That's what I would do to the woman who walked away from her emaciated 3-year-old child in a shabby Tampa motel room today. You see, nobody seemed to have any ideas about how to make sure that there isn't another one, only how to punish this one. Who the hell do you think lives in those places when you drive past them? How the hell do you think they stay in business? Do you think they're all sitting there vacant waiting for a Shriners convention to come through town? Do you care who lives in those places? I didn't really think you did. You just kind of like to bitch and moan when something goes wrong. Well, I like to bitch and moan when things go wrong, too. I guess I can kind of understand it, at least to some degree. But what I don't understand is if there was a possibility of preventing a 12-pound 3-year-old kid I would think that all of us who profess a love for children, let alone humanity and a God, would want to do everything in our power to stop that. And I thought that maybe one way we might kick some conversation. You know, hey, look, I'm the asshole, you know? I'm the one who just doesn't seem to understand you people anymore. I thought that getting a little conversation going about, you know, what would you pay to improve life? What would you pay to improve neighborhoods and communities and a nation might get you to thinking about some things. Well, you know, hey, silly me, I'm wrong. I'm just dead wrong again. Because you and I are in one of these cycles where we just don't seem to be communicating very well. But I'm tired about opening up the newspaper and reading stories about women who abandon their children or try to shove them into toilets or leave them in dumpsters or just walk out of motel rooms, leaving them there in a disposable diaper with the air conditioner turned up. I'm tired of reading those stories. Aren't you? I don't think there's any overnight cure. I don't think there's any overnight cure at all. If there was, I would certainly advance it. But I'm also tired of moving from neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood trying to get away from the bad element. And I'm also tired of being afraid when my wife goes out on the street. And I'm tired of kids growing up without knowing their mothers because mom's off working. And I'm tired of kids growing up and not knowing their dads because dad's off working, or worse yet, is the runoff. I'm tired of living in a world where the pressures are such that a lot of people just can't meet them. And I'm tired of turning on the radio or overhearing conversation in a supermarket when those people finally do snap about how they should be boiled in oil. I can't think of anything more sad. I can't think of anything more tragic than a mother abusing her own flesh and blood. I can't think of anything more sad, anything more tragic than a mother walking away. I can't think of anything more sad. Except maybe of people who just don't care until it's in the front pages and then get a large charge out of talking about it somehow. I can't think of anything more sad. Unless it's, again, people who don't seem to realize that we got some problems and, you know, those problems have to kind of be fixed up. Well, I'm really incredibly sorry if I've bored you today. Truth of the matter is I don't give a damn. I hope I'm boring you. I hope I bore you to action. And I'm really sorry if you know, the question was a tad too tough. I thought it was kind of cute, and what the hell, you know, for 3.5 years, I, you know, pretty much scored most of the time. But again, today, I'm not too happy with you guys. You know, I know you got your own problems, and I got mine too. But one of the reasons that we have the mess that we have is because too often we run around saying, hey, man, I got my own problems, you got yours. No, I'm sorry, your problems are my problems. And my problems are yours. And I ain't talking about the lack of action on the phone. I'm talking about the real world. What I'm going to live with. And if it was a tad too much trouble for you to, you know, to work with a quote we had this afternoon, hey, what can I do? You know, it makes it a bitch doing a talk show. It makes it a double bitch living out there in the world. But I am really tired of opening the paper and reading about these horrible things. And I just don't know who in the hell you think lives in those run-down shanties and those run-down motels and those run-down hotels. I just don't know who the hell you think lives there. And I don't know how in the hell you think people are able to raise children with what the state puts out. And I don't know what in the hell you think is going to come with those tens of millions of people who live in substandard conditions in this country. And the next time I hear you crying and moaning and wailing, when somebody can't take the pressures of the life that they have to live and do something stupid and dumb like putting their kid in a dumpster, I'm not going to believe you. I'm not going to believe you at all. And boy, I tell you, it just, the urge becomes overwhelming. Just overwhelming to say, to hell with all of you. To hell with all of you. Not as far as the show's concerned, of course. But insofar as life is concerned. Find every way to avoid paying my taxes. Find every way to avoid having anything to do with anybody. And just withdraw into a little shell and let the rest of you fight it out, because damn it, sometimes you guys just don't make any sense. You hate crime, but you don't want to do anything to prevent it. You hate abortions, but you don't want to do anything to prevent pregnancy. You hate this, you hate that, you hate the other thing, but you never seem to want to get to the cause of any of these problems. Oh, damn it, I just hate living in a world full of problems. That's so outrageous. It's so outrageous that, to want to try to get together and clean up some of these things that we mutually agree are problems. I mean, I just really don't think the biggest problem in the whole wide world, the biggest problem in my world is crime. My world is poverty. Not my own. But the poverty around me that causes a lot of crime. And drug use and so forth and so on. I'll never understand people that just don't really seem to care. Sure do get off on prescribing punishments for taking drugs and punishments for getting pregnant and punishments for the other things. How do people just go out and buy a lot of cattle prods, stick each other, huh? I think it'd be a hell of a lot better off. What, maybe we could have a 970 WFLA cattle pride giveaway. And you can all stand around sticking each other and have a grand old time. Punish each other. You'd love it. That's all you guys are into anyway is punishment. Go to hell.